So we're just working on, we're doing sticking hands with the full-time crew right here. We're just not into the 18 methods yet, but we started talking about different rules about fighting. And I thought maybe it would be a good idea to share it with you guys. So this is what we've thrown on the board so far today. So number one, if your hand moves, your foot moves. This is the most basic rule in the Ma family style. If you're not consistently and constantly in motion, you're really hard to be tricky. It's really hard for you to be clever. If you're always standing still, it's very easy to hit you, right? You're not a moving target. But the problem is that in most modern martial arts, you see people with their hands up and dancing around with their feet, so their feet are moving, but their hands aren't. Or they plant their feet and then they start punching and then their feet aren't moving. You're still not a moving target. You want to be in motion at all times, especially when you're doing sticking hands. Okay, but this also goes for everything else. Number two is relax. And as you can see, I put in brackets, or die. Relax or die. If you're not actually relaxed, then you're in big trouble. I'm just going to back the camera off here, and maybe somebody can come up and be my partner for a sec. I just need a partner, please. Yeah, there we go. So, hand moves, foot moves. Yeah, thanks, John. Hand moves, foot moves. So, if we just stay back here so they can kind of see us. Right now, I'm not doing it. And when I'm sticking with people and I'm teaching, I don't do it most of the time, because it's too confusing for them to learn something out of, right? Because the idea of hand moves, foot moves is that I become very confusing. So when I'm doing my sticking hands with a partner that I'm just trying to show something to, I don't run the whole thing. But our minds can only take in so much information at once. So we end up having to track a lot of things if the person's whole body is in motion while they stick. That's essentially what that's about, okay? Now number two is relax. If Dario just pushes into my arms, you can see that there's a structure to my arms, but that I'm not tight, right? You can see if I tighten up, he's got my spine. But if I relax, and what I'm thinking about here is basically that there's a ball on my chest. In Drunken, we call it the barrel. And the barrel here, it's filled with water. It's got an outward pressure without it being static, right? It can't be static. I have to be loose, but I have to have enough structure that when he presses into my structure, there's still something there, and you can see I'm not really trying. Right? It's just attached to my spine, but it's soft. Relax. If you end up tightening too much, usually what happens is you end up freezing in time for a second, and then your opponent will kill you. Okay, number three, because we're doing sticking hands, was no grabbing. When you're training sticking hands at first, you can't grab. My teacher actually made us use snake palms all the time. So it was flat palmed sticking all of the time, right? And it was, can I learn how to grab here? By grab, I mean hook. So what I do is I find all these little parts of the body, like on the bottom of the thumb, where I can maybe just tuck my pinky finger down and I've got a little bit of a grab without grabbing. The major reason is that you start to rely on grabs to win. And every time you grab, our instinct is to tighten our forearm. Well, not our instinct. We're built that way. The muscles of the hand are here, right? So this tightens when I grab, but our instinct is that everything else in the chain grabs. So I end up with tight shoulders and tight spine. So for a moment, I'm all super loose and cool, and I grab, and you can see my whole body go into one place. And right now, if Dario moves, he's got my spine again, right? Not because he got me, it's because I gave it to him. No good. In real fighting, I've got it behind here, hip to grab, grab to hit. You can grab when you're fighting or sparring, but how do you grab, right? If our hands are up, it's not that I go and try to grab his arm, because that'll never happen. What I do is I try to punch him in the face. He's going to block, I'm going to grab. So if I want to hit somebody, I grab them. If I want to grab somebody, I hit them. It's simple as that. Hit to grab, grab to hit. It'll always run one into the other. That's how Chen Na evolves. Number four, non-linear. Do not line up your chests. If our hearts are lined up, we're basically not even moving targets anymore again. Even if everything else is moving. So if my hands are moving and my feet are moving, I'm still not a moving target because all you see is a whole bunch of chest to swat. You have to stay off the center, no matter what, fighting or otherwise. Number five, stare at the heart. Make sure you're staring at Tanjong when you're playing with people. It's very hard for their hearts to lie. First off, if my heart doesn't move at all, it means I have no connection. I'm not that powerful probably, because I'm not moving my heart here, but I'm also a static target, and I'm not presenting a lot of danger because of lack of power. If my heart's moving though, Dario can see when my hand lets loose, right? He can even see when my steps happen from here. What you're trying to do is buy yourself time. The earlier you can see a movement happen, the earlier you can deal with it. Remember, we're dealing in fractions of seconds, right? You don't have time to see punches coming, because there are people who can't see their punches. You need to look at their hearts. Hearts don't lie. Number 6, no speeding up. This is really important. We do this with our sticking hands, with our fighting, our sparring, everything we do, okay? Because number 1, if you speed up too early when you're sparring or fighting, you end up with bad habits built out of fear. Because, something scary happens, you spaz out and you block it. And that instantly gets programmed into your brain as that's what to do versus that attack. I should spaz out and block it. You don't want to be working on natural instincts, because our natural instincts suck. We want to work on skill. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you and your partner are working at a level where neither of you are speeding up, no matter what. No matter what. And if something gets through, something gets through. It had to do with timing and it had to do with skill. It didn't have to do with he's faster than you. If you start to rely on being faster than your opponent, you're going to be sorely disappointed when you meet somebody quicker than yourself. And it's not about the fast beating the slow or the strong beating the weak. That's called low-level skill. Right? High-level skill is when you can get past that. Don't speed up when you're practicing. Number 7 we've got up here is responding to pressure. Responding to pressure. So we'll just show the drill we did earlier. So Dario, can you see my feet? Let me move away here. So Dario and I do the drill. Right? So I'm standing here, my right foot's forward. He pushes on my shoulder. And what I do is I just open like a gate. He pushes on my shoulder, I just open like a gate. What I'm doing is I'm teaching my body that my foot, my hip, and my shoulder are connected. And I respond to pressure. Now if I do the same thing with him, he responds by opening like a gate. Watch his body, right? Side to side, everything moves. So this is literally physical pressure. But, we get into sticking hand mode, he pushes me with one arm, my whole body opens, right? And what happens when I turn and push me with this arm is one arm ends up closer to my body, one arm ends up longer, right? So I'm actually gaining range and gaining a hook. If you don't respond to pressure, you start fighting things, just push on me, you start fighting things, and then you're tightening up and you're getting back into the things I just talked about, right? You've got to make sure that when pressure comes at you, you're willing to respond to pressure. You have to always respond to pressure. You don't want to just ignore pressure. Pressure is what's going to get you killed, right? Number 8, do not turn your back. We had one of the full-timer guys turn on his back a bit today. It's a fear reaction. Understandable fear reaction, right? Because it has to do with taiyang, which is the back of the body. So taiyang is literally your whole back of your body is the yang meridians of the body, and the back of your body is armored, right? You got big shoulder plates. You've got the spine, which is plated. You've got thick, bounded muscle. So when you get into trouble, we instinctively turn the armor to somebody, so that's where they hit us. The thing is, there's an entire martial art, which is Ma Family, that is built for people to get behind you so they can attack your back. Most of the attacks actually aren't on your back. They're actually wrapping around and doing things like tearing your eyes out and all that sort of stuff. But of course, they target the kidneys, you target the tailbone, you target Mingmen, you target, the toe hole, if you will, the corn hole. That's what you want to do, right? He's laughing. That's what we're after all the time. So if you turn your back on somebody who is really fighting you and isn't in a tournament match, they're going to start pounding on your back. You don't really want your kidneys ruptured. There are people strong enough to break your back, powerful enough to break your back. So pay close attention, okay? Don't ever turn your back. Chastise yourself if you turn your back. And number 9 we had was invest in loss. If I'm sticking with Dario, I don't care if Dario hits me, okay? I really don't. If he whacks me, I have to go, oh, how did Dario get there? Okay, can you try that again? And I'll ask him, right? And I'll figure out, oh, I didn't respond to pressure, right? What happened when he hit me the first time is I just tried to block. But my body didn't respond to pressure. Oh, good. So by losing to him, I start to learn something, right? And it's the same both ways. If our egos get involved, turn towards me, turn the other way. Yeah. If I start to realize that my partner isn't trying to make me feel bad, isn't trying to make a fool of me, and I shouldn't feel foolish. I shouldn't have a problem with my ego. If I'm getting beaten, I'm the one receiving the lesson. I mean, the best martial artists I know are the guys who got beat up the most. It's that simple, because the more beatings you receive, the more information you're gathering, right? Wait a minute, why do you keep hitting me there? Ask your partner, please just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. Keep hitting me there, right? Find out what's going on. If you can't figure it out, ask them to help you. The more you lose, the more you get to see your own mistakes and your own issues, and that's how you end up really good, because then you can correct them. The problem is that if people just practice forms all the time, they end up just thinking that they quote-unquote know martial arts. I know all 37 whatever forms, I know martial arts. Yeah, but until you've examined it, you don't know martial arts yet. And a big part of knowing martial arts is knowing yourself. Investing in loss is learning who you are. Is your ego in the way of your learning? That's the big trick. So those are the 9 rules we've been going over this morning at full time. Just thought I'd share them with you guys. Any questions from you full-time peoples? No? Good. Thanks. Red button.